Okay, good day, guys. While I was searching the internet, I came across a couple of posts and everything. And while I was reading that, I came across this link in a Reddit post, which says learngatebranding.js.org. I am finding it interesting so far. I haven't really gone far into the whole web application, but it's a way for you to learn Git. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I believe that we might think that we know how Git works, but it's sort of surface level, or rather, I would say that we just know how preliminary amounts of commands work, such as, let's say the git pull, git push, git checkout, git branch, git init, and so on and so forth. But there are a couple more commands that Git offers that I believe that if you really want to deal with, having your repository being tracked, especially on GitHub or any other tool that you use like GitLab and the likes, then you definitely want to know these commands and have them at the back of your mind. So, from how everything is looking on the website, it seems like they have days to teach you pretty much how to do or how to utilize Git. And I'm going to be going along as though I do not know how to use Git. And who knows, I might just learn a couple of things or two. So, have an assumption that I or you do not know about Git and we are learning everything from scratch. So, we're going to read this and then we are going to go through every single exercise that they give us in order for us to get way better in Git and just level up our understanding of it. So it is a visual and interactive way of learning Git. So there will be a couple of visual elements and interactions, and then of course do it yourself, which will be present here so far from my research. We are also able to do things like show commands in the terminal, but let's just get straight into it. I'll also be dropping the link in the comment section or in the description if it allows me. It's a new account after all, but you can always just visit it at learngatebranching.js.org. So we want to click on this and then we want to click on the initial one here. So it starts with what is a Git commit. A commit in a Git repository is pretty much a snapshot of all the tracked files in your directory. It's like a giant copy and paste, but even better. And it says here that Git wants to keep your commits as lightweight as possible, right? And it doesn't just want to copy the entire directory every single time and everything, right? It can compress a commit as a set of changes or a delta from one version of the repository to the next. Git also maintains a history of which commits were made when. That's why most commits have ancestor commits above them. We designate this with arrows in our visualization. Maintaining history is great for everyone working on the project. So I'm just going to give a little bit of analogy here to sort of make sense of what the Git commit is, especially if you're a beginner. So imagine you have a room, and in this room you have a couple of items. You have your TV, you have your bed, you have your sneakers, you have your wardrobe, and a couple of other accessories. And you want to take note of the items that are in the room, right? Obviously, you're going to take your pen and your paper or whatever thing you're using, probably your phone and your notes, but let's just go old school. You grab your pen and your paper and you start to note down each item that's present in the room, right? And you note down the initial states of those items as you make that initial write up of these items, right? So, if at the time you were writing your clothes were in the wardrobe, let's say you had 10 t-shirts in your wardrobe, you would have them as 10 t-shirts in the wardrobe and everything on that particular note. Then let's say after you're done with that, you pretty much do some changes, right? You take 5 t-shirts away from the wardrobe and then you place them on the bed. Now you want to make a new note talking about the new state of the room. Obviously, here you don't want to start writing every single thing from scratch, right? You just want to talk about the new changes, obviously, since there haven't been so much of a change from the previous notes you had written. So you don't want to go writing that there's a bed here and everything. You already know that. You just want to say, okay, hey, took some clothes away from the wardrobe and I kept them on the bed, right? So now you will notice that there is a relationship between the initial note you wrote and then the new notes that you are writing at the moment. And the change here is that the initial note is pretty much holding in the initial data of the room, of the items that were placed in the room. And then the new note is pretty much referencing on that, but then specifying changes, right? So all these changes present here, you can list as many of them down. Okay, hey, the sneakers were moved from the left side of the room to the right side of the room or put underneath the bed. It does not matter, right? So now you have a list of some changes or a list of some actions that were performed since the initial version of the notes that you wrote concerning the room. Now, what a git commit would do in this case, an analogy here would be that you can choose, right, to say, okay, hey, everything involving change regarding clothes, I want to group them together. Everything regarding sneakers, for example, just assume in this case sneakers isn't part of your clothes, right? But just assume that I want to group that together. And then let's say the bed, the blankets were just, scattered or they were arranged and folded properly. You want to also separate that, right? So now you're pretty much choosing how you want to categorize or how you want to group these changes that were made since the last write up that you did about the room. So each and every single one of these changes, if you separate them, they become a commit, right? You can put a note there, right? And then you can have this, you can make any of them go through first, right? You can have the clothes be noted first with the remark or whatever. You can have the sneakers be the first, you can have the blankets be the first. There is not really how you need to do this or which needs to come first. It's up to you, right? But this collection of changes and everything is pretty much a commit in this case, right? Which means that after this note, if you're going to do a new note the next time, obviously that new note is going to then be based off the previous note, which is what? The second note that you wrote, right? And that second note is based off the initial notes that you had ever written about the room. That's pretty much what a git commit is. I don't think I did justice to that, but I hope that sort of helped with a visual map of what a git commit is in your head. But we are just going to go further ado and then we are just going to get into this. So it says let's see how this looks like in practice. So this is your C0, which is the initial commits that you have, and then this is C1, which is the new commits that you made that has some changes. So it says that we should hit the button below to make a new commit, right? And as you can see, the way the arrow is here, there's a relationship, right? Each new commit is tied to the commit that came before it, right? Not the initial commit, but the commit that came, the commit that was there before the particular commit you just made, right? So every previous commit can be taken as a parent for the current commit, right? But we will also get into more of this later on. Let's proceed. It says go ahead and try it out on your own. After this window closes, make 2 commits to complete this level. So I'm just going to look around. Where do I do that? Okay, it says just type in git commit twice to finish, right? So they even tell us what we need to do, right? So this isn't difficult. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to say git commit, which is the first one. We created our first commit, and then we do the second one, git commit, and then we do that. So now we are done. Great, guys. You just did some commits. You made 2 commits, and now you can call yourself a Git developer. Just joking. So it says you solved the level in 2 commands. Our solution uses 2. You matched our solution Would you like to move on to branching in Git, the next level? Yes, we want to move to that. I'm going to click on confirm. So it says Git branches. Now, what are branches? Branches are incredibly lightweight, obviously. Git has made it known that they love things to be lightweight. Obviously, they don't want things to be too large. I'm just imagining how it would be infra-wise to manage such heavy files if they were not, compressed. But that's a matter for another day. They are simply pointers to a specific commit, nothing more. This is why many Git enthusiasts chant the mantra branch early and branch often, because there is no storage memory overhead with making many branches. It's easier to logically divide up your work than have big, beefy branches. When we start mixing branches and commits, we will see how these two features combine. For now, just remember that the branch essentially says, I want to include the work of this commit and all parent commits. Interesting. So we're going to go in and then we're going to see what happens. So it says, let's see what branches look like in practice. Pay attention here. So we're going to do git branch new image. There, that's all there is to branching. The branch new image now refers to commit C1. So we're going to click on this arrow here and then let's see something. It says, let's try to put some work on this new branch, and then we're going to click git commit. Oh no, the main branch moved, but the new image branch didn't. That's because we weren't on the new branch, which is why the asterisk was on main. So now we learned two main things here, but there's one thing I want you to specify on, which is the asterisk. I don't know if you've used Git before, but if you've ever used Git and you've tried to create a branch and you've not switched to that particular branch, you would notice that there's an asterisk on the branch name. In this case, the initial branch is main. And if you run the command git branch, you would always notice that the branch that you're on has the asterisk next to its name. So the asterisk is just a way of Git highlighting what particular branch you're on, especially when you have a list of branches. So in this case here, we're going to click on next and then we're going to see what happens. So let's tell Git we want to check out the branch with git checkout name. This will put us on the new branch before committing our changes. So git checkout new image and then git commit. So we do have our main branch still in C1, but then we have our new branch that we created being in C2 with the new commit, right? So on our main branch, we don't have those changes, but on the new branch, we do have those changes. And then we're going to click on this. In Git version 2.23, I don't think I will remember this, not going to lie, but this is an interesting thing. A new command called git switch was introduced to eventually replace git checkout, which is somewhat overloaded. It does a bunch of different things depending on the argument. The lesson here was to use checkout instead of switch because the switch is still considered experimental and the syntax may change in the future. However, you can still try out the new switch command in this application and also learn more here. And then we're going to click next. Okay, you are all ready to get branching. Once this window closes, make a new branch called bug fix and then switch to that branch. By the way, here's a shortcut if you want to create a new branch and check it out at the same time. You can simply type git checkout -b with the name of the branch. So previously they told us that we would normally have to do something like git branch and git checkout with the name of a new branch, and then we would have to commit within that branch. But in this case here now, all we need to do is just do git checkout -b, which -b here is pretty much, I believe, just -branch, and then we're specifying the name of the new branch, right? So we're going to click on continue, and then all we're going to do here is see what happens. So you create git branch. I'm going to call this git branch. Let's look at the instructions again and see the name that was given to us. Bug fix. So we're going to say bug fix. So we have created bug fix, and then now we want to git checkout bug fix. Now we have git checkout bug fix, right? We've switched to bug fix. This is great. We solve this in two commands, and then the solution uses two commands. Now we would move to merging. But before we move to merging, I just want to talk a little bit about what branching and checkout means in Git in case you missed it. So branching is pretty much the same as saying that, okay, hey, I've made a couple of changes. However, these changes, I am not necessarily sure I want to have these changes in the initial version of whatever code I have written or whatever files I have edited or made changes to. However, I want this to be in its own separate area, in its own separate category, in its own separate room, whereby I can continue developing in this particular room and then, figure things out. An example case here would be sort of saying you had the power to duplicate things, right? So you have a tab, right, or let's say a pill, right, that can cure cancer or theoretically can cure cancer, right? But in order to make it edible by humans, you have to do some experimentation on it, right? What branching does here is like cloning it or sort of making a duplicate of this pill, and then you're saying that, okay, hey, I want to make every single experiment be on this particular duplicated pill, right, so that it doesn't affect the original pill. In this case here, every single change I make or every single file I create or every single file I edit, delete, or whatever is going to only affect one thing, which is the files in the new branch, right? This is a beautiful case here. And you want to switch to the branch. You want to make sure that you're switched to the branch. And like we said earlier on, in order to know what branch you are, you can run the git branch command, and then you can look at the specific names and look for the asterisk next to it. Whatever branch name you see an asterisk next to it shows the branch that you're currently on. But let's proceed now to merging in Git. So it says branches and merging. So we know how to commit, yes. We know how to branch, yes. Now we need to learn some kind of way of combining the work from two different branches together. This will allow us to branch off, develop a new feature, and then combine it back in. The first method to combine work that we will examine is called git merge. Merging in Git creates a special commit that has two unique parents. A commit with two parents essentially means I want to include all the work from this parent over here and this one over here and the set of all their parents. So let's look at it in a new view. So here are two branches, right? Each one has a commit that's unique. So of course, the branches started from C1, and then we had a C2 branch and then a C3 branch. The C3 branch was the main branch, but then the C2 branch was the branch for fixing a bug or whatever. So we want to say merge bug fix. So what happens is that it takes the changes from bug fix and then it merges into main. This is specific. It doesn't necessarily mean that all changes that were made in bug fix has to go to main. Sometimes it can be the other way around. Maybe all changes in main can go into bug fix. What matters is the target branch and then the branch that you want to merge it into, right? So it depends on what you want or what fits your use case, right? So first of all, the main now points to a commit that has two parents. If you follow the arrows up the commit tree, you will hit every commit along the way to the root. This means that main contains all the work in the repository now. Also, see how the color of the commit change. To help with learning, I have included some color coordination. Each branch has a unique color. Each commit turns a color, that is the blended combination of all the branches that contains that element. So here we see the main branch color is blended into all the commits, but the bug fix color is not. Let's fix that. Let's merge main into bug fix. Git checkout bug fix git merge main. Since bug fix was an ancestor of main, Git didn't have to do any work. It simply just moved bug fix into the same commit main was attached to. Now all the commits are the same color, which means every branch contains all the work in the repository. Woohoo. Now obviously it's not every single time you would need to do this, right? There are specific use cases where you'd want to merge a branch into another branch and then do the same vice versa in the same sequence. What I mean here is this. Initially, when we clicked the button, we merged bug fix into main. But then in this case, we merged main into bug fix. Now note this, we had two changes, right? The first change was with C2, which was when we created bug fix and then we made some file edits there and everything. And then C3 was just a continuation of C1 with no changes recognized from C2. However, now we took the changes from C2 and then put into C3 in this case here, right? So we took changes from here and then we merged them into this. But since this is already a commit of its own, the two of them had to combine and then create C4 for us. Now, the C4 that has been created here pretty much has all the code that's present here. So even if we take the code from this and take it back here, this already has the code that we did it because we took the code from C2 to C4. So doing from C4 back to C2 is not going to have any differences in it. Obviously, this is not absolute. There are cases where C4 will have some changes because of C3 and we cannot just merge back into C2 from C4. I hope that makes some sense, right? So we're going to proceed to the next part of this. So to complete the level, we need to do a couple of things. We need to create a branch called bug fix, which we can do using git branch bug fix. Then we need to check out the bug fix branch using git checkout bug fix. Then we need to commit. Then we need to go back to main using git checkout. Then we need to commit again, and then after that we need to merge the branch bug fix into main with git merge, right? So this is an interesting thing. So we're going to click on here and then we're going to say, okay, what are the first things that they need us to do? So the first thing that they need us to do is make a branch called bug fix. So we are going to do that. We're going to say git branch bug fix. So that has been done just fine. So what was the next thing that we need to do? We need to check out the bug fix using git checkout bug fix. So we're going to say git checkout bug fix. Okay, git checkout bug fix. Okay, we've done git checkout bug fix. Now this is great. Now we need to do a git commit. Remember, initially all we need to do is here just type in git commit. Now we have a commit. Now we need to go back to main. So we do git checkout main. Now we are back to main and then we want to commit again if I remember correctly. Okay, great. We want to say git commit. And then what we want to do is we want to merge the branch bug fix into main with git merge. So now let's try something. We're just going to say git merge. And then it says, I expect at least one argument for with git merge. So now let's look at this. What do they want us to merge? They want us to merge bug fix into main with git merge. So I assume that we need to be in bug fix for this to happen. So what do? Do we go to bug fix or do we remain in main? So I'm going to say git checkout bug fix and then I'm going to say git merge main and then I'm going to click that. Now as you can see here, what happened in this case is that the code created the merge into bug fix. So instead of merging into main like we wanted, it merged into bug fix. The reason this happened is because in this case here, when you do git merge main, the branch that you are currently on, which when you did git checkout is bug fix in this case, git merge main is saying that, okay, hey, I want to merge main into me. So when you do git merge, you're saying that whatever value you pass as an argument is what you want to grab changes from to merge into you, right? Take it in that case here. So in this case here, we've messed up a lot, right? So what are we gonna do? How do we, I do not have an idea as to how we can change this, but I'm gonna say checkout git checkout main, and I'm gonna say git merge bug fix, and then let's see if this fixed our error. As you can see, this did not fix it. I'm gonna see if I can reset. I'm gonna say show options option. How did they do that again? Okay, I'm just gonna do, I think I can do a git reset here. I'm gonna restart this to see if there's a way for us to figure things out. I can't see a restart button here, so yeah, this is gonna be a pain. Branching in Git. I'm just gonna pause it and go back there. I wish they had a restart button because I wanted to show an example, but you know it got messed up. But I'm just gonna pause. Okay, so we have this back to normal. So we are gonna do git checkout bug fix. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Git branch bug fix. Git branch bug fix. Then we're gonna do a git checkout bug fix. What the hell is going? Oh, my days. I made a mistake here. And then we're gonna do git checkout bug fix. We're gonna do a git commit. Then we're gonna do a git checkout main. Then we're gonna do a git commit. Then we're gonna do a git merge bug fix, and we're good. So that's pretty much how you solve this. So yeah, we're gonna just reduce this down later on. The reason this took a lot is because we did branch and checkout. We could have just done git checkout -b bug fix, and that would have just handled everything easily. Now we have git rebase, which is, I believe, one of the topics that is not talked about a lot in development. This is a very important thing. So the second way of combining work between branches is rebasing. Rebasing essentially takes a set of commits, copies them, and plops them down somewhere else. While this sounds confusing, the advantage of rebasing is that it can be used to make a nice linear sequence of commits. The commit log history of the repository will be a lot cleaner if only rebasing is allowed. Now let's see it in action. Here we have two branches yet again. Note that the bug fix branch is currently selected. Of course, as you can see with the asterisk, we would love to move our work from the bug fix directly onto the work from main. That way it would look like these two features were developed sequentially, when in reality they were developed in parallel. Let's do that with the git rebase command. Great. So this isn't a merge, it's just pretty much a copy paste. So there's a difference. Merge means putting the two of them, you're pretty much combining the two files together. Rebase is pretty much copying from here and then pasting it here, right? So we're gonna pretty much read what it says. Now the work from our bug fix branch is stacked on top of main since it points to main. In our visualization though, it's shown below main since our commit tree flows downwards. Note that commit C-tree still exists somewhere. It has a faded appearance in the tree, and C-tree is the copy that we rebased onto main. The only problem is that main hasn't been updated either. Let's do that now. So what we're going to do here is, now we are checked out on the main branch, let's go ahead and rebase onto bug fix, and we're going to say git rebase bug fix. Since main was an ancestor of bug fix, git simply moved the main branch reference forward in history. and then we're going to do that. So here we're going to check out a new branch. We're going to create a branch called bug fix. We're going to commit, then we're going to go back to main and commit, and after that we're going to check out to bug fix and then rebase onto main. So now we know that we can just do checkout b/b, and then we're going to say bug fix, right? And then it says in the instruction after doing this that we want to commit once, and then we want to go back to main and commit again, right? So we want to say git commit, then we want to do git checkout main, then we want to do git commit, then we want to do git checkout bug fix again, and then what we want to do is git rebase main. Great, we got everything working. So we solved this using 6 commands, and we matched the solution here. Hey guys, we've been doing really great so far. If you've made it all the way here and you've run all these commands yourself, you've done really great. You are starting to get an understanding of how this works. And guess what? We've done this without using AI. We've done this without using the Git documentation, just the tutorials and the explanation given directly here on the learngitbranching.js.org website, which is great. So we're going to confirm this, and then we're going to say moving around in Git. Before we get to some of the more advanced features of Git, it's important to understand different ways to move through the commit tree that represents your project. Once you're comfortable moving around, your powers will be amplified with the other commands, which is true. Now, let's talk about something called head. What is head? Head is pretty much the symbolic name for the currently checked out commit. It's essentially what commit you're working on top of. Head always points to the most recent commit, which is reflected in the working tree. Most Git commands which make changes to the working tree will start by changing head. Normally, head points to a branch name like bugfix. When you commit, the status of bugfix is altered, and this change is visible through head. Let us visualize this. So we have C0, which is the initial, and then we have a commit here, and then we have this as main because we are seeing the asterisk. So what happens is we're going to do a git checkout C1, we're going to move there, and then we're going to do a git checkout main, and then we're going to do a git commit, and then a git checkout C2. When we do this, we can see that head was C1 first, and then when we created C2, we then created another. We are going to see head again there, and then we can see the next thing. So we can also detach head, right? So detaching head just means attaching it to a commit instead of branch. This is what it looks like beforehand. Head main C1 git checkout CI. Now it's head CI. To complete this level, let's detach head from bugfix and attach it to the commit instead. Specify this commit by its hash. The hash for each commit is displayed on the circle that represents the commit. So in this case, what do you think we should do? So this is going to be your assignment for the day, guys. We are going to continue this video tomorrow, and let me know what you think about it. Has this been a helpful session for you? Have you understood a couple of things? Has this explained any questions you might have had about Git? If you have any more questions, do drop them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible, and I'll do my best to also recommend beautiful resources that you can go to in order to improve yourself as a developer. It's great that you guys have made this journey so far. Feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe if you want to. If this has helped you in any way, feel free to share it with anyone that you believe might have been discussing about Git and probably you didn't have the answer to. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you for watching. Do have a wonderful day.